Vidya?
Ma'am?
You can continue, Vidya.
Yes, ma'am. It gives me immense pleasure in inviting our Madam Principal, Dr. Shanti, who is our pillar of support in all activities we carry on to deliver welcome address. Ma'am, kindly take over.
Thank you, Vidya. Esteemed resource person of the day, Mr. Peeyush Pahade, founder member, IQAC Cluster India, Director, Dr. Jayashree Ghosh, Vice Principal and the Deans, HODs, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Sherlyn David, IQAC team and faculty of Anna Adarsh College. On behalf of the management, Punjab Association, it gives me immense pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to all of you present here to the webinar on implications of quantitative metrics in data validation and verification. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council has brought significant changes in the Indian higher education system by creating impact on the various quality parameters of the institutions. NAC gives direction and motivates the institutions to address many of its issues through its criteria and key indicators related to quality assessment and accreditation process. In its efforts in developing a system for conscious, consistent, and catalytic improvement in the overall performance of institutions, NAC has revised the assessment and accreditation process from time to time. Today, we have amidst us an eminent resource person to enlighten us on the implications of quantitative metrics in data validation and verification. DVV in NAC refers to the data validation and verification. It is a process verifying whether the submitted, uploaded data during the NAC accreditation journey on the official portal is valid or not. It is an initiative aimed at making the assessment process more transparent and objective. As we are in the process of data collection, today's webinar assumes great significance. Our success depends upon the sense of belonging and participation among all the team members of IQAC. I am sure that you will all feel enriched with knowledge after completion of this program. I welcome you all once again to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I take pride in inviting our IQAC coordinator, Dr. whom is through her excellent government to introduce the chief guest for the day, Mr.Peeyush Pahade.
Thank you, Vidya. Good morning to all of you, distinguished guests of the day, members of the management, principal, director, vice principal, my dear colleagues. A warm welcome to each and every one of you for this webinar on the implications of quantitative metrics in data validation and verification. Quality assurance is the outcome of efforts of an institution to define its vision, mission, and objectives, and to have a working plan to achieve them. The IQAC and Anna Adarsh College for Women act as a catalyst for inclusive quality culture by devising innovative strategies in order to enhance quality in the overall performance of our college. To be inspired is great, but to be an inspiration is an honor. Yes, we have amidst us on this wonderful day Mr. Peeyush Pahade to spur us into action through his exemplary words with an illustrious career of inspiring thousands of young lives as a dedicated professor for about 30 long years in H.P. Desai College, Pune. Besides his career as a teacher, he has also been serving the college as an able administrator as the head of the department. He is a founder member of IQAC Cluster India. He is associated with Wakefield Industry and Whiteboard Software Solutions as academic advisor. Mr. Pahade is a soft skill trainer and has conducted more than 2,000 workshops on the topic of 7 habits of highly effective people, which was attended by more than 1 lakh participants. Mr. Pahade has conducted faculty development program for 30,000 faculty members. He is a member Board of Studies in Sophia Women's College, Mumbai, and a member Syllabus Committee of Savitribai Phule, Pune University. He has developed several interactive teaching modules in zoology for effective teaching. He is also very busy assisting a number of colleges in documentation, policy writing, academic audit, website standardization, and in strengthening the institution's work. Mr. Pahade is an IQAC consultant for St. Teresa's Institute of Education, Mumbai, Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies, New Delhi, and Modern Law College, Pune. It would be an exhaustive exercise if I have to continue to mention his many other achievements. Hence, dear sir, I would like to contain myself with these words of introduction, and while thanking you for accepting our invitation, once again, on behalf of IQAC, I extend a hearty welcome to you. And now I invite you to deliver your speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I invite
Vidya, just give a 10
for a
10
comment.
seconds count.
Okay. Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, all. Respected management of Anna Adarsh College for Women, Director, Principal Dr. Shanti Madam, IQC Coordinator, Dr. Sherlin, teachers of the college, and my dear participants. It's a pleasure to be with Anna Adarsh College today. I'm sorry some things are not in my hand. The power cut here has led me to some restrictions and I'm on the mobile today. But then the spirit counts and therefore we will go ahead with the session. We'll be looking into the implications of quantitative metrics in data validation and verification process today. When we talk of NAC, at that time, what we need to understand is 70% of what is going to be data driven. It's only 30% that is going to be through a peer team visit. And therefore 70% counts more. And we're just trying to understand what is the process. Though attending each and every metric is not possible, we'll try to understand how does NAC work with respect to the accreditation process. Once we have seen that, we will also try to see as to how does NAC go for system generated scores. How is the DVV process in brief? Once we know the DVV process, we'll try to know what is the essentials of documentation in brief. We'll try to know what are the good features of documentation in presentation. We'll try to understand the difference between information, data, and proofs. And once we have understood that, we'll actually look into various types of numerical metrics. We'll also be looking into the standard operating procedures. This is how we will be going ahead today to understand what this process happens to be. I request Madam to please put on the presentation now. Please take it to the presentation. Thank you so much. I am Piyush Pahade, and Madam has already introduced me, introduced you to. I am introduced. I am associated with HVSI College, and I started a small organization called IQAC Cluster, which is currently catering to about 2,000 colleges in the way they want. Cluster works with the objective is that what is your demand, what is your requirement is what we'll try to provide. So it becomes more of a system, what do you say, specific to a particular college. Let us look into how NAC works first. Now, how is this particular process first, and then we'll go ahead. What has happened with these guidelines of 2017? I'll request for the next slide, please. It talks about fragmented authority. The process of NAC is different from the other processes primarily because number one, you have to fill up the SSR online. Once you have filled up the SSR online, there will be multiple agencies who are going to take care of this SSR and nobody knows what they are doing. They know their job very well, but they don't know what others are doing in the same team. So parallel assessment goes on through multiple agencies. Somebody takes care of the DVV. Somebody takes care of the SSS. Somebody takes care of the PTV. They all work independently. The DVV is a query, assesses the data, comes out with some queries and asks you to reply those queries. Whereas whatever is asked in criteria 2 is indirectly asked to the students in student satisfaction survey. So what we are talking is what is being assessed through the students. So in other words, we are being assessed by the NAC, we are being assessed by the DVV team, we are being assessed by the students, we are being assessed by the PTV. And the sum total of everything comes out as an NAC result. And therefore, this authority who's assessing us is actually a fragmented authority working independently, and that makes the system different. When we look at this particular this particular manual, you are able to see you have two kinds of questions. Please go to the next slide. These two kinds of questions happen to be the qualitative and the quantitative. The qualitative data is descriptive and the assessment is done by the peer team. The quantitative data has numerical questions and which will be taken care by the DVV. Next slide, please. There are 7 criteria. Everybody knows this. There are 7 criteria. There are 32 key indicators. That would mean that there is a book. That book has 7 chapters. Now that book has 7 titles. Each title has several units, and each unit is divided into several chapters. So in the same way, there are 7 criteria, key indicators, and these 32 key indicators now are further broken down into 65 metrics from June 1st. These metrics will be of qualitative and quantitative type, the way we have talked about. These are the weightages that you are able to see of the key indicators. Key indicator number 1 happens to be curricular aspects. 2 is teaching, learning, and evaluation. 3 happens to be research, innovation, and extension. 4th happens to be infrastructure and learning resources. 5th happens to be student support and progression. 6th happens to be governance, leadership, and management. And the 7th criteria happens to be institutional values and best practices. The total score here happens to be 1000. Keep in mind, the question here is called as the metric. Now, when we are looking into these key indicators, please go to the next slide, please. Yeah, these are the 7 key indicators that we have made a mention. Now, let's go to the next slide. This is known by everybody, so I'm not spending time over here. Something different over here happens to be the system generated scores. It would mean that every question that goes to NAC after getting assessed, it sets up with the benchmark. Every question has its own benchmark, which we don't know. So when I make a mention, how many students are there in the college, you put one number. Once that number has been counted out, then in that case, the benchmark will be, it will be compared with the benchmark and the score will come out automatically. A lot of artificial intelligence tools are being used out over here. AI intelligence is being used out over here, and therefore human interference happens to be lesser. And therefore system generated scores count a lot. As I made a mention, there is a third party validation called DVB. These people who are going to check you, they do not know you. They haven't seen you. You are not going to see them. They are auditors. They are not teachers. And they will be checking the data the way an auditor checks. They will not be checking the data the way a teacher checks. I am saying this because a teacher is kind. The teacher understands many things. An auditor does not understand. An auditor understands numbers. An auditor understands benchmarks. An auditor understands where the person stands. And therefore, we need to be very careful when we are filling up the data. Every question has every metric has a weightage, and every metric has a benchmark. And that benchmark is unknown to us. Furthermore, you are able to see there are different kinds of manuals, affiliated, autonomous, university, and various other systems have come into picture. So you are able to see it's a different system. There's something more. You are able to see student participation through DVV. They also, for the peer team visit, they also invite the alumni, they invite many other people, our stakeholders, to interact with them. So an overall picture is tried to be understood. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is one more part that we need to understand, and that happens to be what are the area, how is the weightage. So actually, there is 64% of weightage to the DVV, and another 6% of weightage that comes through SSS. So 70% is the way it works. And then you have peer team visit, which goes for 30%. Next slide, please. Let's try to understand this DVV process now. This DVV process is once the IIQ has been accepted, the DVV process begins. Actually, the SSR filling process begins. When the SSR filling process begins, at that time you are able to see there are 45 days that are provided for filling up the data. NAC is very strict with respect to the number of days. During the COVID period, they were kind. Now they have come back to their original status, and they say that we will not give you any extension. Once the SSR has been submitted, two things begin at one time. The first one happens to be SSS, Student Satisfaction Survey, where a link is provided to the student and the student fills the data. We have to be very careful there also. We cannot trust our students. Trusting of the students is in terms of, the trusting of the student that I am saying is in terms of whether they have filled or they are not filled. 90% of 98% of students will be writing very good about you. So don't be worried whether they will be writing, what they will be writing out. But they many a times don't open the link only. They don't see the mail only. Therefore, the link, the file, looking at the link does not matter only. So once you go for NAC at that time, the minute you go for NAC, you need to see to it that the students are aware of the system and you have tried to explain them, tell them that this is a very, very important process. It counts and therefore filling the question plays an important role. I know colleges who had to ask for an extra time so that students fill up, and they had to release out more number of students, more number of links to the students or to all the students so that at least 10% fulfills. I have seen colleges where on day one, the minute the link is released, and even in rural areas, 60%, 70% of colleges have the students have filled up the data. Now that is possible if there is an excellent connect between the teachers and the students. Though you are not going to help them in filling up the answers to the questions, you can always tell them, in case you have a doubt, you can ask me. Here you are able to see DBV process. This SSS is going to count. If SSS completes early, for example, in one of the colleges, the SSS got over to 80% or 90% in just 2 days. The NAC replied the college saying that because 90% of students have replied of the links that were sent, we are now closing down the process and they could, and we are closing down on the SSS and they could proceed faster. So you are able to see our effectiveness really counts out. That's all that I wanted to make a mention of. Though DBV is not, though SSS is not directly related to DBV, we need to know this because there is a component where college is going to play a big role, where the teachers of the college are going to play a big role. Once SSS has started, simultaneously DBV also starts. In this particular chart, you can see that the DBV process has begun. A green arrow from where it starts. This process normally needs 1 month. Very rarely, if the data is lesser, it gets over quickly. But many a times that the data needs a lot of time. That's what I wanted to tell you. Once they have started looking into the DVVs, that is the Excel sheets that you have sent out, after a month's time or so, queries come. All these queries need to be answered. Whatever data you have furnished on that, there will be some queries. This is one part. And there will be some repeat data to come in. You are not to get bored over there, not to get bugged up over there. You have to upload the data again. Normally, currently what I am able to see, some 30% of data is asked by them again, though there is no problem with the data. The objective here happens to be you should check your data once again before you upload it. Once that data has been sent, the queries have been replied out. The queries will either be accepted or they will be rejected. If they are accepted or rejected, the peer team visit will come. There is one thing that I want to say, and that happens to be 30% qualifier. The institution has to qualify for 30% at least so that the peer team visit can take place. If the institution is not able to get 30% of marks in DVV, the entire process will have to begin again. You will have to write down the new process and you will have to send it out again. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let us look at this DBV process. We have seen it on a broad scale. DBV is submitted, point number one. DBV is sent to the Higher Education Institute, that is HEI, for queries. The queries are answered, clarifications are given. In case there are no clarification, you will say no clarification. For example, in one of the colleges, there was in Merit, they had given some data. And the data said that something like 82 activities of NSS were conducted. And NAC said that not 82, they are 106. Now, if there are 106 activities and you are saying that we have showcased 82 activities, no, I don't think so. Anybody will say, "नहीं नहीं हमारी 82 ही है, उसको accept कर लो." They will say, "Okay, 102 we accept it out." So sometimes you get a shock also that you are saying less and they are giving for more. But most of the times, what you say is something lesser than that, or that distance it out. We have to identify what is it that area that they are saying no, we don't accept it. Find out those gaps and answer them very well. Sometimes you get a second level queries also, and then the final report is submitted to NAC. That's what you are able to see. Come to the next slide, please. Yes. Now I want you to participate with me. In the chat box, you are going to answer my questions. Let me see where the chat box happens to be over here. Just 1 minute. Yeah, fine. I request all of you to please look at the event. You're going to help me out. You're going to answer it back in the chat box. What is the event? Can you please put it in the chat box? What is the event? Name of the event. Please write it down in the chat box. Yes, I'm waiting. Please reply. Please come to the chat box and please reply. Well, are there any messages coming in the chat box? I'm trying to see it over here also. Yeah, KF annual dinner. Absolutely right. Principal Madam makes a mention that there is an annual dinner. You can see the program. Try to go through the entire episode once again. What is the actual event? Whether it is a dinner or it is something else. Please see it, all of you. Okay, Shirlin Madam makes a mention, it's an annual dinner. Anything else? Anybody else wants to say anything? Okay, it's a book launch, absolutely right. It's actually a book launch that you are able to see. And Onna Malai G makes a mention of this. It's a book launch with a dinner. So both the answers are right, but the primary thought happens to be book launch. When, on what day and date is it? Please look into it. Please give the day and date. On what day and date is it? See the flyer very carefully and please answer. On what day and date is it? Come on, quick. I want you to answer. Hello. Please answer. Yes, it is on Saturday, 14 September 2013. Very true. Thank you so much. Now, please let me know At what time and venue is it? This appears to be very foolish, but I want that. It is on Saturday. Sherlyn Madam has made a mention. Fantastic. Okay. On what time is it? And what is the venue? Yeah, it is say at 6:30, let us say. And what is the venue? Right? It is 6 to 6:30 p.m. Very true. What is the venue? Absolutely right. It's Hilton Hotel that you're able to see. Very true. It is Hilton Hotel. Now, who is the target audience? Who's the target audience for this particular program? Right. Hilton Hotel. That's absolutely right. Who is the target audience? Who is the target audience? That is not written down there. We are going to think and give the answer. It is not shown. You have to guess it out. That's very true, Principal Madam. But it is not given over there. General public who will answer, who will register for the event, absolutely right, is the target audience. That is Unnamalaiji makes a mention. Absolutely right. Now, what are the outcomes of what should be the outcomes of this particular KEF annual dinner? What could be the possible outcomes? You're answering very well. Please, what should be the outcomes of this particular event? Please answer. What should be the outcomes of this particular event? What could be the possible outcomes of this particular event? Absolutely right. Book sale, this is one part. Very true. What more can be the outcomes? Book sale is definitely there. A meeting is definitely there. That's really very great. What more can come out? Author, absolutely right. Book, reviews can come into picture. The thought process can be understood. Of course, the dinner will be one of the outcomes that you're able to see. So all these are the outcomes of this particular event. This is exactly what is wanted in the documentation. I have deliberately made a mention saying that we need to understand is asked and what is needed. Whenever we conduct an event, whenever we go for an event, whenever we plan for an event, we need to know what are those things that are going to make up a document. Now, there are two kinds of things that make up a document. What is the MAC check? Let's try to see. MAC checks records. There is a difference between the document and the record. For example, when this event will be over today, Dr. Sherlin will be writing down a report. That report can be written down immediately. It can be written down on days. But when it comes to a proof, that will not be treated as a proof. The recording of this particular program that is going on will be treated as a proof because it is live on time. The attendance register signed by the people will be taken as a proof. The letter given to me, an invitation letter, which I have accepted, and the thanks letter, which I have accepted, can become a proof. In case it's an event for the students, the notice that is taken out can become a proof. And therefore, we need to understand what the proofs are and what is the data, what are the proofs, and how should the document be. Please go to the next slide. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. If you look at what are the features of a good documentation, you will understand. It should be complete. The document should be complete. It should have all the necessary details that the document needs. Even after 5 years, if you see that document, you should be able to recollect it was this document. Because that document is self-explanatory. What more should this documentation do? This document should be clear. It should be self-explanatory. If I'm trying to look for the date, I must get the date. If I'm trying to look for the event, I should get the event. If I'm trying to look for the people who were there, I must get to know how many people were there, who were there. This is what is going to be self-explanatory. Then you're able to see it should be purposeful. It should serve the exact purpose. These are extremely important aspects. More than that, a document needs to be accountable. Every documentation comes with accountability because document is a proof. It should not so happen that I took the activity today and I'm writing down the report of that activity after 6 months. So the report should be timely. It should be submitted immediately after the activity, or it should be at least prepared after the activity. Once the document is made, it should be accessible. Whenever, wherever I want, I should get that document. That is accessibility. Furthermore, the document should be distributed. That is, it should be with the department who has prepared it. That will play an important role. These are the important features of a good documentation that you are able to see. Let's go to the next slide, please. I hope you're getting something very important about NAC happens to be that. Something very, very important about NAC happens to be that. NAC works on 3 lines. Number 1, information. Number 2, data. And number 3, proofs. Look at this particular picture that you are able to see. There is a message that is being given, that is information. What is the information? The information is our kid is sick. The mother is surprised. The father is telling the son, our son is sick. He needs to take, he is taking rest. Well, how do I believe that your child is sick? Therefore, there is a data that comes into picture. The data makes a mention saying that, the gun is being used and the temperature is being measured. And when the temperature is being measured, there is a continuously rise in the temperature, and the temperature happens to be at a higher rate, and therefore we need to be worried. So the doctor is taking care of it. But what is the proof that the child is really sick? The proof that the child is really sick is the hospital bill that will be coming up. In other words, we are able to see that there is information, then there is data, and finally, there happens to be a proof. This is the way NAC checks us. NAC looks for the information, NAC then checks the data, NAC then looks after the proofs. The information should match with the data. The data must match with the proof. If information data and proofs match up, then in that case, that metric gets counted. Then in that case, the metric is accepted. Otherwise, there will be queries in this particular metric. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is very important. We need to understand information, data, and proofs. Now, what can be a difference over here? It is quite possible that information is different from the data is different from the proofs. Information may be 100 or let us say information can be 600 students participated in Swachhata Abhiyan. The data makes a mention of 433 girl students only participating in the Swachhata Abhiyan. Now 633 was the information, 433 is the data sheet, and the proofs may be showing, let us say, 500 students. Now this data is not matching up. A query will come up. It would mean that if 433 students are there in the data sheet, the information must make a mention of 433 only. If there are 433 students in the data sheet, there should the proof, that is the students were present, the signature of the students, that should be 433 only. Furthermore, there should be no repeats of the students. Because when you have a Swachhata Abhiyan, students are going to be very much interested. There will always be one lot who is going to come again and again for every activity. So it's quite possible that out of the 433 students, there are some 50 students who like to participate in social activities. So they will come for the social activities and they will be registering themselves again and again. And then the total number will start changing out. Because NAAC says every student is to be counted only once. So here you are able to see now the data starts becoming different, and then we ask, then the query comes to us. What is the real number? Then the IQAC coordinator opens it out and he looks at it and he says, "Arey, information में तो हमने 633 कहा था. We said 633. The data list that we have prepared is of 433. And the proof is saying something different only." So the repeats need to be avoided and exact data needs to be provided. With proofs needs to be provided, then and then it gets counted out. This is the big thing. Now what I am trying to say, this is the sheet. This is one question called 5.1.1. Average percentage of students benefited from scholarships and free ships provided by the government during the last 5 years. This is a question in criteria 5. There is a data that has been given. Please go to the next slide, please. Now, there is a data that has been given out over here. In the year 2021, the students benefited were 789. In the year 2019, they were 684. In the year 2018-19, they were 566. In the year 17-18, they were 532. In the year 16-17, they were 408. What is this data telling us? What is this information telling us? This information is telling us that there is a rise in the number of students who are going for the fellowships. So the number of students is information. The number of the students that we are talking about is information. The chart that you are able to see down here is the data, number of students, amount. This is what happens to be the data. Now, if you say 789 students have been benefited, it would mean that you have to give the list of 789 students. That list of 789 students and the amount that they have received is going to be the data. And then what is the proof? The proof will reflect There could be some letter coming from the government saying that so many students of yours have been benefited. For example, in Maharashtra, it is the MahaDBT portal that shows the data college-wise. You have to go on that data, find your college, and get the details. You can get that data and do the web capture of the picture, and you can get the proof. So you are able to see the proof over here happens to be. You can see the proof here happens to be the 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 list of students who have actually participated, who have signed. The first proof here will be the signature of the students. The second proof here will be the geotag photos, and there can be some other proofs also that you are able to see. So all that I wanted to tell you over here is that information, data, and proofs. These are the three things that NAC tries to check out, and this is the way they check us. Please go to the next slide. Please look at the various types of numerical metrics that we have. We need to understand what are the different types of metrics so that working it out will be very, very easy to us. See this metric. Before we see the metric, I want you to look into the SOPs. SOP plays a very important role. NAC has given standard operating procedures. These are some documents, some reference document that you can use. Keep in mind, these are the suggestions. They are not the final documents. It is quite possible that you may have a proof other than the one that is given in SOP, and it still may be a valid proof. When we talk of SOPs, there are some things. Number one, there are some rules that SOP has. Please go to the next slide. Yeah, next slide, please. Even before we analyze the metric, we need to know what are the rules. Number one, for each metric, 5 MB data has been provided. That means so that whatever proof that you want to give, that proof is going to be of the size of 5 MB only. If it is lesser than that, it's okay. If it is more than that, you have to see to it that it becomes 5 MB and you can upload it. Second thing, the data that you are providing, it may not be uploaded on the website or the software. It will be put up on the website, on the college website, on your college website only. It will not be put on the drive. It will not be put on the cloud. It will not be put on the rented areas. This is very important. If you have data which is on your drive, and if you give that link, NAC is unable to access it, because NAC has extremely strong firewalls. So even if you upload the data, they detect the drives and they don't accept the data. Even if you have your Google Classroom, even if you have your own Google Drive, even if it belongs to the college, even then your data will go on the website and not on the drive. Keep this in mind. This is very, very important. Many a time people start filling up the data and then they say, sir, ye to bhara nahi jata hai, I'm not able to fill it up. The system is not accepting my data. It's not so. First use an enter. Once you give an enter, the data then can be uploaded. Then the link can be pasted out over there. Then paste the link. that link is of your website. That website has those pictures or that data over there. There you can see it out. So this is the second part that I wanted to tell you. These aspects are very important. We tend to miss these areas and we suffer very badly. So you have pasted the link over there. After you have pasted the link, again tap the enter button so that it is a guarantee that your link is opening out over there. And then whatever proofs that you are going to get, these proofs are to be endorsed by the principal or the director so that you are able to see what you are giving is the right data. You may say कि वो portal हमारा ही है, it is our portal only. What is the need that the principal should upload, should sign every document physically, not give a pasting of the e-signature. Physically, it needs to be signed out primarily because NAC expects that every document that goes to it is known to the boss. And therefore, you are able to see over here that there would be an enter signature key again. Every document that is going to be given to NAC is going to be endorsed by the principal. The principal must sign every document. You cannot say abhi hum thak gaye to then in that case e-signature istemal kar lo. No, that is not possible. Furthermore, there are some templates that NAC gives. You must have seen those Excel sheets. उनमें कोई अल्टरेशन करना नहीं है, हमने हमारा दिमाग वहां पे लगाना नहीं है. We are not going to put our brains into it. What is asked is what is to be replied only. You are not going to use anything else other than that. Then you are able to see there will be some clarifications. These clarifications come from two places. In the NAC report, there is something called as extended profile. There's an extended profile. This is a very important aspect because extended profile is the denominator of the college. So when, for example, you make a mention that, 433 students of Anna College have participated in Swachhata Abhiyan, how is that 433 going to be checked out in a very funny way? The minute you have given 433 students have participated in the event, immediately you have filled up an extended profile, and that extended profile is the denominator of the organization. So automatically, if there are 4,000 students and you write down 433 students participated in the event, it would be 433 divided by 4,000. That would mean 10%. And when you say, 10% students participated in the event, it is as good as you have not participated in the event. The logic of NAC for DVV happens to be maximum participation. There's a concept in biology called as penetrance and expressivity. I wish to make a mention of that somewhere over here. Penetrance is how much that concept or that event has reached the students. And expressivity happens to be how many students have actually participated in that particular event. The more the students participate, the more is the value of that particular program. And therefore, if you are planning for a good DVV, you need not conduct a very large number of activities. The activities that you conduct, they need to be consistent, number one. And number two, not only that they need to be consistent, they also should be in extremely large numbers. The students should participate, or the participant must participate for that event in extremely large numbers. And therefore, we need to plan in this way. For this particular. This is one part that I wanted to tell you. This is how NAC checks our data. And therefore, planning plays a very, very important role when we are conducting an event on an annual basis. When we are planning an event on an individual for the college, the event should be planned well in advance. The event should be planned keeping in mind that there is a great participation coming from the students. If that is not done, we start losing out on the marks. So once we have seen this, let's go ahead. Um, NAC gives the templates, and you have to follow those templates very religiously. You're not going to do any kind of change in the template. Then the data must come in that particular format only. The data cannot come in any other format. Furthermore, when there is lot of data, but naturally it's a 5-year data, so the data is going to be quite a lot. NAC uses randomization. It will use randomized methods. For example, you have conducted courses for the college students. Let us say each year out of the 4,000 students, 2,000, 3,000 students have participated in that particular program. Now that data becomes a very huge data. So then what will they say? They will select some 50 names and say, please send the certificates of these 50 students. That's a randomized data. That is at random. They have chosen some 50 students, and now they're saying, please send the certificate of these 50 students who have participated in this particular short-term course of 30 hours. So this is randomization that you're able to see. Once you have uploaded the data and you have sent the data, you have submitted the data, no change is possible. This is the next part that I want to make a mention of. For example, you feel that in sports and in arts, in the past 5 years, 6,000 students have participated. That's quite possible, though you may be having 3,000 students, because there can be repeats for different events. And now after submitting, you feel that no, it is not 6,000, it is actually 8,000. They will not accept it because you haven't, once the data is submitted, it is submitted forever. If anything can come in, it can come in a query. If you get a chance to reply it in a query, you may reply it in a query. In case a query comes on that particular aspect, then it would be counted. Otherwise, it will not be counted. And therefore, filling up of the DVVs plays a very, very important role. We need to know all our SOPs very well. We need to know all our SOPs very well, without which things will be difficult for us. So that was about the SOPs that I wanted to talk about. And now we can actually go to the next part. Please go to the next sheet, madam. It's a request. Next slide, please. Yeah, fine. No, the same slide. The previous one. Thank you. Yeah. Some rules with respect to SOPs. Now look at this. I have deliberately highlighted some areas over here that you're able to see. You're able to see a highlighting done on the extended profile. Extended profile is very important. We need to fill up our data very carefully. When you start filling up the SSR at that time, what comes first is the profile of the institution. After you have filled up the profile of the institution, then comes the extended profile. This extended profile in the new system will be having only 3 questions, or the data to be filled up for 3 areas. That would be student number, teacher number, and something more. But then extended profile needs to be filled up very carefully with all the necessary proofs. The proofs are not going to be asked by them. It's only the data that is going to come up. that is going to decide the final number of the students. For example, what was the final number of your students for the past 5 year, average number of students in the past 5 years? When you make a mention of that, at that time you are able to see in first year there were 4,000 students, in the second year there were 4,200 students, in the third year there were 4,500 students, in the fifth year there were 5,000 students. So the average of 4,000 and 5,000 would be the number that is going to come up, the final number that is going to be come up, that will come up in the extended profile. And that number will become our denominator. And therefore, extended profile plays a very important role. Very often I find one more thing happening. College starts filling up the data and tries to fill the data. And as they start filling up the data in the SSR, a red sign starts coming into picture. And then they call and say, sir, we are filling up the data, but there is a red sign coming up. I always tell them, have you filled up the profile of the college? Yes, sir, it is compulsory, so it is filled up. I said, fine. Did you fill up the extended profile of the college? No, sir, we did not fill up the extended profile of the college. Unless you fill up the extended profile of the college, the data is not going to be valid. How are they going to check? They are going to check through our extended profile only. They are going to have those numbers as the final numbers. Now here, in this particular SOP, you will be able to see I have made a mention of documents required for verification. This SOP is provided by NAC itself. We need to download this. We need to keep this. This becomes a very useful tool while uploading the documents. For example, number of courses that have been given. Now, what were the document that you need to supply? Number of courses in each program year-wise. Now, what is a program? Program is BA, BCom, BSc, BBA, BCA, BCS, MSc, MA, MCom, MCA. What is the courses? The courses are the ones that you teach in the classroom. Sometimes we call them as papers. So we need to know what is the program and what are the courses. You have to fill up all the details that are needed. Here it becomes very exhaustive. And if you are not able to understand what a course is or what a program is, you need to go to the glossary, which is at the end of the manual, to see to it that what it means. So this SOP plays a very important role. That's what I wanted to say. For looking into, before we go to DVV, before we go to filling up of those sheets, first look what is asked. Second part, I have taken this part from the SOP only. For example, 3.1 that has been given in SOP makes a mention of number of full-time teachers year-wise during the last 5 years. You have to give all the data of the teachers over here. Now, I have marked it in red or pink that you are able to see. This is what NAC is telling. You are able to see it on the screen. Go to the next slide, please. Sorry. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Look at this particular sheet that I'm trying to tell you. Number of full-time teachers year-wise during the last 5 years. Now, what does DVV say? DVV tells you what I have highlighted over here in the pink. Provide the list of all full-time teachers indicating their departmental affiliation during the assessment period year-wise, authenticated by the principal on the letterhead of the higher educational institution. This is an example that I'm giving. That would mean that the list of teachers is going to be made and the principal is going to sign it out. This is authentication. This is the first proof that is coming up. Now, who's that full-time teacher? I've deliberately taken this. According to NAC, the full-time teacher is the one who is employed for at least 90% of 90% of the normal or statutory number of work hours during the year. They have given this as the proof. But then what more? A teacher who is employed only for a part of the year is not going to be considered. We have a teacher who is employed for 6 months, he will not be considered. A part-time teacher will not be considered. An ad hoc teacher will not be considered. A visiting faculty will not be considered. At least 90% of the normal statutory number of hours, if it is not being completed out, then in that case, he will not be counted as a full-time teacher. This is what NAC is saying. But what does NAC check besides this? It sees the full-time appointment letter. Second part, it also sees whether the teacher is qualified, whether the teacher is set or not. Look at this now. This is not there in the SOP that has been mentioned out over here. So SOP is saying if a teacher has taken 90% of the course, he is a full-time teacher. But if the teacher has taken 90% of the course, but he has been given a letter of part-time, or he has been kept, or he or she has been kept only for 2 months, she does not become a full-time teacher. So duration is going to be very important. And lastly, what is your appointment letter saying? That is what is going to count the most. That is going to count the most. And whether the teacher is a qualified teacher or not. For example, all the norms mentioned by the NAC are being followed out, but the teacher is not set or net. Then in that case, the teacher is not going to get counted out. This is not mentioned in the SOP, but this is being implemented at that stage. So we need to know these, and we also need to know our rules and guidelines. I'm coming to the next part over here. Deliberately, please look into this. Number of sanctioned posts year-wise, you're able to see 3.2 over here. Official letter of sanction of post from the statutory body, that could be government, university, or it could also be from the board of management during the assessment period. Now, there are a very large number of private colleges. They give appointments. Sanctioning of the post can be done by the university, or if it's a private college, the management of the college can do this sanctioning. See this, the management of the college can do sanctioning, but how do I know, or how does NAC know whether they have been sanctioned or not? This must reflect in the board meeting for the posts to be sanctioned. That would mean in the apex body meetings, this discussion has taken place. This discussion has been counted by the management members. They have given their judgment that has reflected in the minutes of the meeting. And that becomes your proof that though this is a private college, these posts are sanctioned. These teachers are full-time. They take the full-time workload. They are qualified, and therefore they must be counted. So those boxes that I have tried to make, they need to be highlighted, that they need to be understood. That's all that I wanted to tell you. This was just an example that I have given you over here. Now, what kind of data can come in is what we want to see. The basic information of the college can come in. This is college profile that you are able to see. Faculty, what is the faculty? What are the departments? Whether there is a UG, whether there is a PG, whether there is research. Then you may make a mention that yes, we have science, we have arts, we have commerce, we have other anything specific that comes in. This is the data that you are going to fill in the Excel sheets. Second part, At many places, the data compilation and feeding can be very exhaustive data, and therefore it needs to come with an accuracy. The second part that I wanted to make a mention. For example, name of the add-on or certificate program, course code, year of offering, number of times offered, duration of the course, number of students enrolled, total number of students completing the course at the end of the year. So here you are able to see each year's data is to be filled up. And that can be a lot of data at times. For example, just yesterday, the one college that I had been to was a college. It is in Mumbai. So just day before yesterday, on the 10th, I was there. They have their short-term courses. They have a strength of something like 4,500 for senior college. And almost 3,000 students complete one course each year. Now, so much of data needs to be filled up in each year in this particular sheet. Then in that case, it becomes a very exhaustive data. Each student certificate starts counting out. It becomes very exhaustive. So you're able to see this data becomes a lot of data. So when you are going for NAC at that time, it is not only that you have to fill the data, you have to fill the data with exhaustively. Second part, it needs to be compiled very carefully, and the data feeding needs to be done with accuracy. Otherwise, it will start creating out a good number of queries. We were talking about extended profile. These are the three areas of extended profile that would be coming up: program, student, and academics. These are some of the areas that you are able to see. As I told you, extended profile is the denominator of the organization, and therefore this data is very, very important. Let's go ahead. We were talking about what are the different types of questions. In the first case, I made a mention, here I had made a mention that there can be lot of data. This is one type of question where lots and lots of material is to be filled up. Second part, it could come with importance, something where you just cannot afford to make a mistake. That is an extended profile of the institution. You just cannot afford to make any mistake over here. It's going to count you every time. If this extended profile goes wrong, and if it is accepted by them, only God can help us. I think so. Even He will not help you out in that case. So extended profile counts the most. Now there is one type of question, one more type of question that comes in the DVV. This question is a different question that you are able to see. Look at this question over here. Come to the next slide, please. No, the next slide, please. This was the basic information that I made a mention of. The next slide, please. This was about the exhaustivity of the information that I was making a mention of. And then we have one more slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, this was about the extended profile that I was trying to make a mention of. Now come to the next slide, please. Right. See this question here now. It's a different type of question. The teachers of the institution participate in the following activities related to curriculum development and assessment of the affiliating university and are represented on the following academic bodies during the last 5 years. Academic Council BOS, setting of question papers, design and development of curriculum for certificate add-on diploma courses, assessment and evaluation process of affiliating university. Now, many teachers participate in such kind of things. Now, what is it that they are giving? Look at the options that have been mentioned out over there. The options say all the above, any three of the above, any two of the above, any one of the above, none of the above. If you look at the metrics, the way a particular metric is measured, that is 1.1.3 is going to be measured on a 5-point scale. 5-point scale is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, this 5-point scale, sorry, this 5-point scale is actually working. All the above, it would mean 4 out of 4. Any three of the above, that would mean 2 out of 4. Any one would be 1 out of 4, and none of the above would mean a 0. So here you are actually getting the benchmark. So number of options, more, more, if they are more is the chance of getting the points. So this, in the first case I made a mention that the document is very important, which was the extended profile in the previous slide. Before that, I was talking about the data which is very, very huge. So a sheet could be with a huge data, or a sheet could be with an extremely great importance, or a sheet could come over here the way the next slide again. Yeah, the next slide now. Right. Yeah. Or a sheet over here where you're actually getting how many marks you can get in this particular question. Look at, if you're going to put all the above, you're going to get all the marks over here. So there's a different method of getting the understanding the benchmark. If the benchmark here, of course, will be all the above would mean all the 4 scores, 4 out of 4 that you're getting over here. Let's go to the next question. There's a question called as the linked questions that you're able to see. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now look at this particular question. See, I'm taking types of questions over here. Average percentage of courses that include experiential learning through project work, field work, internships during last 5 years. Now, I have highlighted the focus is on the courses. We are looking at a linked question. Just go to the next question. Here the focus is on courses. Don't forget this. Go to the next question. Next slide I meant to say. Yeah. Now, here you are able to see it is the same question. 1.3.2 and 1.3.3 are the same questions. But here the focus is on number of students. In the previous case, it was on number of courses. And the same students. How many courses? How many students? 1.3.2 and 1.3.3 are linked questions. They talk about the same thing, but the focus is different. In one case, they are talking about how many courses. In the other case, they are talking about how many students in that particular course. That is going to decide. It would mean that you need to have a big range of courses and you need to have a lot of students coming to it. Or even if the course is going to have lesser students, if the range is big and the number of students finally is going to be bigger with a big range of courses, you are going to succeed over here. This is the logic that you are able to see in this particular 2 slides. Now, such kind of questions are going to go away from June. But I just wanted to tell you these are linked questions. Now, please come to the next slide. Yeah. Here comes a calculation. You need to calculate. In the previous cases, you don't have to calculate anywhere. But here your calculation is going to come. How many teachers do you have? Number 1. The previous year, that is the last year, how many teachers did you have? 1. And you are going to calculate their number of hours. How much teaching experience do they have? Full-time teachers have. So that would mean that you're going to have all the full-time teachers. You're going to have their date of joining to the current date. Then you're going to find out number of years. Then you're going to calculate. Then you're going to add all the number of years and days and everything. And then you're going to come to one number, that the average teaching age, the average teaching year experience of this particular college is 10 years, is 12 years. It would mean there are some teachers who are going to have a teaching experience of 2 years, somebody of 32 years. Now that range is going to fit in over here. Now why this question comes into picture, that we need to know. We need to know why this question comes into picture. This tells us about the flux in the college. whether the teachers are staying over there, and if they are going to stay over there for a longer period of time, there's a better chance. There's a better chance that the teaching process may be very good over here. If the flux in the college is going to be for a longer period of time, and there is going to be big, the number of teachers joining and the number of teachers leaving is going to be very, very large. Then in that case, there's a chance that the teachers are not very happy in that organization, so they are leaving out, and that is effectively affecting the quality of teaching. So this question has come in. That's what I wanted to tell you. Look at this question. Go to the next question, please. Next slide, please. Look at this question. They're asking for a data diversity over here. Diverse kind of data is being asked. How many classrooms? How many classrooms with LCD? How many classrooms with Wi-Fi? How many classrooms with smart classroom boards? How many classrooms with LMS? How many classrooms with seminar halls with ICT facilities? Now you're able to see, they're not just asking how many LCDs are present. No, they're asking how much of it is LCD, Wi-Fi, smart classrooms. It's quite possible that every college will be having these different classrooms at different places. So a data is going to be first generated out. It would be something like we have, let us say 50 classrooms, out of which these 50 classrooms, LCD can work in 10 classrooms. Wi-Fi works for something like, or LAN works for something like 8 classrooms. There are something like 12 smart, or there are something like 5 smart classrooms. Maybe LMS supported classrooms are 10. So you're able to see all this data would be coming up. The data is going to be of a diverse kind. So you find this one more type of question as to in this particular pack. Just as you are able to see here, data diversity was asked. In the previous one, there was a calculation. Then there were some related questions or linked questions that we had talked about, courses and number of students, for example. Then you are able to see somewhere, you are able to see that options have been given, all the 5, all the above, any 3 of the above, any 2 of the above. So you are able to see diversity of the question. Understand the diversity of the question. Understand what has been asked over there. Accordingly, answer the question. Otherwise, it starts costing us. Please come to the next slide. This is a very important slide now. How does NAC check our information? I have written down my SSR. I have sent my SSR. I have given the proofs. I have given the data. Why should anybody trust me? And how can anybody trust me? I will tell a lie. It's quite possible. How to overcome this particular problem? The thing is very simple. In that case, they check our data with ourselves. You have filed the SSR now. So your SSR data is with you. But if you look at the NAC portal, NAC website, you will be able to see NAC has its partners as IQAC and Enlist. So it also collects the data from IQAC, the data that you have given at some different time. In case you are going for NIRF, it is also collecting the data from NIRF. It may also collect data from your library, Enlist digital library. It may collect some data from university if they want it. And they have bank accesses to check sometimes whether this new teacher is really your teacher or not. So they check our data with us only. And that makes the things very different. It is quite possible that the data that we have furnished to IQAC and the data that we are putting it in NIRF and the data that we have sent in SSR may be different. If it is different and if it is remarkably different, then in that case, it may cost us. This is the biggest part that I wanted to tell you. We are checked with ourselves only. Based on this checking and going through this entire material, We come to the CGPA scores. Please go to the next slide. Cumulative grade point average. The marks that we get are converted to grade points. That is the way they normalize the scores. Extreme biases that can be there, they are regulated. And in this way, you are able to see the, the scoring is done. Once that scoring has been done, grade comes into picture. The next slide talks about the grade, and grading is done. Once grading has been done, please go to the next slide. That is, these are the grades A++ to D. D is not accredited. The peer team comes, it gives its peer team report. Next slide, please. We are not interested over here much. This is the peer team report that comes into picture, and the final result comes into picture, which includes the peer team result, which includes the quantitative metrics. Next slide, please. And which includes the final submission. This is how you are able to see NAC works. The last slide talks about the certificate of accreditation. You can just go to the last slide. And that is where you're able to see the entire process ends out. I hope the session was useful to you. Questions are invited. Any questions, please?
Thank you, sir, for an enlightening session. There's a question from Dr. Annie, ma'am. In
Yes,
question
please.
number 7.1.3,
Yeah.
it's on waste management, solid waste, liquid waste, e-waste, waste
Yeah.
recycling. So, sir, what is the proof that is required, sir?
When we are talking about the e-waste, the agreements that come up with the companies who collect the waste, you can have a local collector who is going to collect that e-waste. So far as because your college is in the city premises, the liquid waste does not make any sense. You can always make a mention. It is the municipal corporation that through which the liquid waste is taken out. They believe on that. When we talk of solid waste management, you may be having some agreement with some of the waste collecting organizations. For example, paper, there can be an MOU whereby you are able to see the scrap paper and the waste paper is collected by them. And maybe you get a new paper, recycled paper at a much lower cost or at a cheaper cost. Or you get a recycled paper. Or you have that MOU whereby your paper is being taken away by the companies and that is going to get recycled out. So this is one more way that you are able to see. With solid waste, you can also make a mention saying that the solid waste is being separated out into, let us say, paper, metal, garbage, and other materials that you are able to see. Your photos can play an important role. Photos with geotagging can play an important role. This can also be one more proof that you can add up. But these MOUs would be a very meaningful kind of MOUs. Plastic collection drives can be mentioned out within the organization. That can come with geotagging, for which again you are able to see some kind of proofs can be given, that a notice, a flyer, students actually participating into it. All these events can be done with respect to criteria 7.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So this is one more doubt.
Yeah.
Under 1.1.3, we have categories like Academic Council Board of Studies. Actually, some of our senior faculty members, they're part of the selection commission for the approval of faculty members, the other college faculty members. Can it be included, sir?
Whether that those colleges are under the same university,
Yes, sir.
then they can be accepted.
Okay.
So though it may be an autonomous college, but it is working under the same university, then it will be accepted. But if it is under some other university, it will not be accepted.
Okay, sir.
Any other question? You can take a hand raise also.
Here IQAC team.
Sir, this is Sherlyn, sir. So a doubt, sir. Is course outcomes and program outcomes.
Okay.
Is equal weightage given for autonomous colleges and affiliated colleges, sir?
I just need to look into it. I can
Because we
answer
don't
this.
set
Let
the
me look at
question
the
papers.
weightage and I can let you know.
Okay.
No, because weightage comes in terms of marks. Relatively, the number of autonomous colleges is lesser, so those numbers are not remembered. But for affiliated colleges, it is remembered. Now, when we are talking about the weightages, you should have your methodology for POCO mapping. You should have your methodology for attainments. It may be the way it is like in engineering college, or it may not be that way. It could be in a different way also. The only thing that NAC expects over here is, do you have your mechanism?
Now, when the subjects are decided by the university and the question paper is also set by university,
True.
What do we do, sir?
No, but you know your student, and therefore COPOs are to be prepared by you only, not by the university.
Okay, sir.
Because the students who are in Anna College, they may not be the student. There could be a different lot of students in Loyola or Xavier's.
Yes, sir.
So the quality of student that comes to that particular institution, only the institution knows. The university does not know.
Okay. Thank you.
Secondly, the POs are always to be framed up by the institution, and POs belong to the institution. POs do not belong to the university. So now, if you are going to say that every student of yours must get employed or must go for a higher learning, then in that case, university has not drafted these POs. So mapping of the POs with the COs can be done only by the institution, not by the university.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Any other question?
Yes, sir. This is regarding 4.1.3. Dr. C. Chitra has raised this query.
Yeah.
Can we create a table for the number of facilities available, explaining the location of the facilities, sir?
You can create a table and it can be put up on your website and a link can be provided.
Okay, sir.
A link can be provided.
Good afternoon, sir. So I would like to know, because we are migrating to a new system from June 1st onwards, and our date of September 11th, we have the validity till September 11th, 2022. So what is the latest date I should submit the IAQA, sir?
The best time would be at least 4 months in advance.
That means somewhere in June I have to do.
Yeah, June, July, if you do it, it will be better. You get an advantage right up to September. That's not the case. But then it's better when you're accredited at the same time, the accrediting agency also comes into picture. So when you're into a status of accreditation, it should remain accredited. There was one circular, but I don't know if it has been taken back or not. If you have accredited, if you have sent your SSR in time, even if the party comes late, I'm saying the peer team comes late, if the college still remains accredited till the results are declared. I think so that is still valid, but we need to check it with NAC. So then in that case, you don't have to go 6 months in advance. And even if you go 6 months in advance, if the process does not complete, then in that
Mm.
and ask them that if we are going 6 months in advance or 4 months in advance, then in that case, and if the process of NAC is not completed by NAC, would the college still remain accredited? This is a question that you can always pose them. The
Okay.
answer possibly would be yes,
Yes.
because currently due to COVID they have changed some of their norms.
Yes. Sir, I have one more doubt. Now,
G.
actually, we want to apply for autonomous also. We got our 2F status. So,
Okay.
can we do it before this NAC accreditation, or should we wait for the NAC accreditation and do it?
If you're sure about your NAC accreditation that you're going to get A grade, do it. Or else go for that prior only. Then in that case, you get an extension for 4 years.
Extension of what, sir?
Or extension to go for NAC for another 4 years.
Oh, suppose we go for autonomous now.
Yeah.
And then
If you have the letter of autonomy, let us say currently, today, if you have assume this way that you have a letter of autonomy to be implemented, then in that case, you can send that letter to NAC. The NAC will immediately accept it out and say that we have extended your 4 years. Along with it, all that you have to do is send your previous grade sheet and your certificate. They accept it out.
In that case, I think I will push autonomy first.
Yeah. If you can get the autonomy done in advance.
So the problem was we lost some time in COVID. So that is my biggest issue this
So
year.
if you do this process, because I like to give the example of Indira College during the COVID itself, they had got their autonomy and they had actually applied for NAC.
Okay.
They had approached me and they said that we have done this.
அப்புறம் அவங்கள ஏதாவது பண்ண சொல்லுங்க நான் பாத்துக்கிறேன்.
Sir? Yes, sir?
Yeah, they had got their autonomy and they had applied for NAC. They came to me. This is a college in Pune. And I told them that you just go tell them that we have got our autonomy. We don't wish to go for the process. And that was immediately accepted. Within 1.5 months, they had got the answer also. And till that time, they had approached a very large number of experts. And all of them had said that, no, you will not be getting any extension over here. I was the only one who was telling, no, you will get an extension. And they got the extension.
So
they got the extension of 5 years.
What is the time lag, sir, for autonomy? Suppose I apply in July. It will take more than September means then I am having a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, then in that case, I don't know about autonomy, how much time it will take.
Okay.
I can't tell you about that because I'm not into that process.
Okay, sir. I'll find out. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Ji, thank you so much. So can we stop now? I think so. Hello.
Any other questions, Vidya?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm having one doubt, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Previously, we are taking up normal photographs. Now they are asking for geotag photographs.
No, fantastic. Don't worry about that. You can make a mention that time we had not taken those photos. They will count those photos. But henceforth, you will be very careful about it.
Thank you, sir.
All that you have to do is you have to give one statement. The principal gives a statement that time we had not used geotagging. Now we use it. That's all.
Sir, regarding this 1.2.2, sir, add-on and certificate courses, can the college provide it, sir, or it should be from?
Yes, it is the college who provides it, not the university. Those colleges who went through university, it became a problem for them. The university said, oh, they are the courses of the university, they are not your courses, and they were not counted, despite the fact that that particular college had something like 90 plus courses. They got it certified from the university, and that led to a problem to the college. So don't get it certified from the university. That is your course that you are going to deliver.
Okay, sir. Suppose if it is see, for example, there is a ACCA course. Can we club it with a BCom course and offer it as BCom plus ACCA?
No, but why are you clubbing it for 1.3?
what do we do? The value added means we should devise a program and give a thing and give
Right.
a certificate. Okay.
Right. Don't club it in any way with the university. The
University or
minute you club it
outside
with the
college?
university, that will not be counted.
What about this MSME courses, sir? Or even IQAC cluster runs a course, no? What are all that?
IQAC cluster, when it runs a course, what IQAC cluster does is that IQAC cluster says that this is a course between me and you. That is with IQAC cluster and Anna College.
Okay.
So it's a college course.
Ah,
That's the trick that we have used over here.
okay.
And secondly, these courses are not 30-hour courses. These are those courses which the college does not conduct. For example, these are those courses like, for example, gender equity. These courses of 12 hours or 14 hours that they will start counting somewhere else. Or for that matter, they could be a special course on IPR. Now, the college is unable to conduct a course on IPR for 7 days or something like this. So here, if we do it, it helps. But these are not 30-hour courses.
Okay. So only 30-hour courses will be counted.
In 1.1.2, 1.1.3 in this
Value
particular
added.
set.
Okay.
In value added.
So we devise a program, we devise the syllabus, we have to give the program, then only it is counted.
Correct.
And the faculty, we should have our faculty who are giving that course.
That's not an issue. You can have your faculty, you can have a tie-up, you can have faculty from outside.
Okay.
Not an issue.
And it should not be related to the program which we run. Say, for example, the science student should not do a science-based course. She should do something.
You will have it a science-based program.
Okay.
Definitely, but it is not a part of your university course.
Correct. Okay.
That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Shall we stop? I need to run to the college. You can have any number of questions you can ask me.
Yes,
I will answer.
sir. We understand. Thank you, sir.
Shalin. Will you just propose the vote of thanks and mind?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would request Ms. Revati Meenal ma'am, Department of Computer Science, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of IQAC and Nadesh College for Women. I would like to thank the management, Punjab Association, for granting permission and support to organize this program. I would like to extend my gratitude to our correspondent, Mr. Sunil Asija, our beloved principal, Dr. R. Shanti, Director, Dr. Jayashree Ghosh, and Vice Principal and Dean Academics, Dr. Anita Raman, for their great support and encouragement for this webinar. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to our resource person, Mr. Peeyush Pahade, Head, Department of Zoology, HV Desai College, Pune, for this informative and interactive session on implication of quantitative metrics in data validation and verification, which is the need of the hour. On behalf of the IQAC team, I thank our IQAC coordinator and head of Accounting and Finance Department, Dr. Sherlyn David, for their enthusiastic effort to organize this webinar. I extend my special thanks to my energetic colleagues of IQAC team for helping us to make this program successful. I would like to thank Dr. Hannah Vijayakumar, Head, Department of Computer Science, Mrs. A. Parameshwari, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science, for their tireless effort to make this program happen virtually. I would like to express our sincere thanks to System Admin, Ms. Jasmine, Mr. Saravanan, Electrician Mohan, for bringing this event as an audio-visual treat. I thank all my team for making this event a great success. With this warm words and kind message, we move to the end of today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. A kind request to the participants. Feedback link will be posted. Do fill in the feedback form. With lots of inputs, we shall wind up the webinar. Ma'am, is there anything to be?
We can wind up, Vidya.
Yes. So, thank you all for joining the webinar.